We all want a roadmap, a clean, predictable 10-year plan that guarantees if we put in the required work today, we will arrive exactly where we want to be tomorrow. It is a comforting thought. This diagram shows the path we expect to take, a rigid, straight line leading directly from point A to point B. But that path is a complete illusion. You cannot chart your life by looking forward. Take Steve Jobs. At 17, he chose a college so expensive it drained his working-class parents' entire life savings. After 6 months, he couldn't see the value in it, so he dropped out. He lost his dorm room, he slept on the floor, returned Coke bottles for 5-cent deposits just to buy food, and walked 7 miles across town every Sunday for a single good meal at the Hare Krishna temple. Stepping off that required, expensive path seemed terrifying. But stripping away the obligation to follow a set plan removed the pressure. It allowed genuine curiosity to take over. He could stop taking required classes that bored him and start dropping in on the ones that actually caught his eye. Because he didn't have to take normal classes, he wandered into a calligraphy course simply because the campus posters looked beautiful. He learned about serif and sans serif typefaces and what makes typography great. It was historically and artistically subtle, and it had absolutely zero promise of any practical application in his life. 10 years later, Jobs and his team were designing the first Macintosh. Suddenly, those random lessons in spacing and letter forms rushed back. They designed it all into the machine, and the result was the first personal computer with proportionally spaced fonts and multiple typefaces. If Jobs hadn't dropped out, he would never have dropped in on that single calligraphy class. You can only connect the dots looking backwards, which means you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. Dropping the anxiety of mapping out your life gives you the confidence to follow your intuition, even when it leads you entirely off the well-worn path today. You can put in the hours, build something massive, and do everything right, and life will still hit you in the head with a brick. By age 20, Jobs and Steve Wozniak started Apple in his parents' garage. Over the next decade, they worked relentlessly, growing from 2 kids in a garage into a $2 billion company with 4,000 employees. They released the Macintosh, their finest creation, and Jobs had just turned 30. And then, following a dispute over the vision of the future, the board of directors sided with a newly hired executive. Jobs was fired. He was out, and very publicly out. What had been the entire focus of his adult life was abruptly gone. He felt he had dropped the baton passed to him by the previous generation of entrepreneurs, and the devastation was absolute. He didn't realize it for months, but the heavy, suffocating burden of being successful was gone. In its place was the absolute lightness of being a beginner again, completely unsure about everything. That unconstrained freedom directly triggered one of the most intensely creative periods of his life. Over the next 5 years, he started a company named Next, and another company focused on computer animation. That second company, Pixar, went on to create Toy Story, ultimately becoming the most successful animation studio in the world. Meanwhile, Apple bought Next, returning Jobs to the company he founded, with his new technology powering Apple's modern renaissance. None of that would have happened without the brutal medicine of being fired. When your current path is destroyed, you are forced to start over. The only thing that will keep you going through that devastation is holding on to the pure love of the work itself. There is one final tool for making big life choices, and it is incredibly stark: the absolute certainty that you will be dead soon. Jobs faced the physical reality of his mortality when a doctor looked at a scan, saw a tumor on his pancreas, and told him he had an incurable cancer. He was advised to go home and get his affairs in order, medical code for preparing to die within 3 to 6 months. Look at this diagram. If those heavy outer rings represent external expectations, pride, and the fear of embarrassment or failure, a death sentence instantly dissolves them. They turn to dust, leaving only that single brightly glowing core, what is truly important. Remembering that you are going to die strips you naked. It is the single best way to avoid the trap of thinking you have something left to lose. There is absolutely no reason not to follow your heart. Even though no one wants to die, death is the destination we all share. It is very likely life's single best invention, a change agent that clears out the old to make for the new. Right now, you are the new. But someday soon, you will gradually become the old and be cleared away. Your time is strictly limited. Do not waste it living someone else's life, trapped by the dogma of other people's thinking. In the late 1960s, there was a publication called The Whole Earth Catalog. It was an idealistic collection of neat tools and great notions, entirely made with typewriters, scissors, and Polaroid cameras, a paperback version of Google, 35 years early. When the creators decided to end its run in the mid-70s, they put out a final issue. On the back cover was a photograph of an early morning country road, perfect for hitchhiking. Beneath that photo was their farewell message: stay hungry, stay foolish. It is a final command to step into the unknown with courage, trust your intuition, survive the inevitable devastation, and remember that you have nothing left to lose. Stay hungry, stay foolish.